You're about to get a fresh, creator-forward take on the TED universe, not a recap. I'm not just reading headlines here. I'm unpacking what Seth MacFarlane's TED franchise could mean for long-form storytelling in a streaming era, and why the 20-season dream might actually matter beyond a single show's gatekeeping budget. Let's break it down like we're riffing in a studio, with my own take, hot takes, and a few questions for you to chew on while we watch the next seasons potentially drop. I'm starting from a provocative angle. Character-driven shows can outlive their premise if the people in them remain compelling. TED isn't just a big CGI bear. He's a lens for how audiences connect with a fable about adulthood, responsibility, and friendship. My take is that MacFarlane saw something durable in the dynamic between John Bennett and his blue-collar innocence, an engine that could keep pulling new stories out of the same emotional well. What makes this really interesting is how a critic's knee-jerk reaction to budget constraints might overlook the core strength, the people in the room. If you have strong writers, great voice acting, and a premise that can bend without breaking, you can sustain a long run even as the CGI bill climbs. This raises a deeper question. Are we placing too much emphasis on spectacle when the real draw is character chemistry and relatable misadventure? One thing that immediately stands out is the claim that TED could run for 20 seasons. On the surface, that sounds insane, but let me push on it. The comparison to Family Guy's long arc is revealing. Family Guy thrives on episodic satire with loose continuity. TED, if treated as a character-based series, could spin new, what-if scenarios around the bear's relationships, career misfires, and moral awakenings. The cost barrier is real. The bear is a flashlight that needs constant batteries. But if the studio chooses to lean into voice performances, writer room innovation, and perhaps a shift in visual style over time, you could keep the show fresh without rehashing the same punchlines. What many people don't realize is that long-running series aren't just about bigger budgets. They're about evolving epilogues for characters fans have invited into their lives week after week. From my perspective, the Season 3 pause isn't a doom signal. It's a strategic pause. The show's reception, Season 2 landing a 100% rating on some outlets, signals there's something viable here that audiences want to return to. If the team treats the next arc as a re-anchoring of the John and Ted dynamic, rather than a pure gag machine, you could sustain quality while calibrating costs. In my opinion, the leverage isn't merely CGI. It's how well you map the bear's arc to real human dilemmas, careers, parenting, adult friendships, and the fatigue of chasing past glory. If you take a step back and think about it, Ted's appeal is less about a bear and more about the adult-child archetype, the person who never fully grows up but keeps trying anyway. That's a universal tug that travels beyond the studio's budget spreadsheet. A detail I find fascinating is the tension between premise-based versus character-based television, which MacFarlane highlights. Premise-based shows live and die by innovative ideas per season. Character-based series owe their longevity to the relationships. Ted, as a character, promises endless room to explore consequences. What happens when Ted's influence shifts, when John makes a tough life choice, when the group dynamic fractures and then reforms? What this really suggests is a blueprint for future comedy. Lean into the relationships you've built, then test them against new environments. Workplaces, family dynamics, even satire about late-stage adulthood. People often assume CGI beasts limit storytelling. In truth, they only limit you if you overinvest in tech at the expense of narrative urgency. The broader trend here is the streaming era's hunger for durable character ecosystems with evergreen conflict. Deeper insight, the budget question is a narrative constraint, not a fatal flaw. If TED were designed to scale in story rather than scale in pixels, there's a path to longevity. Imagine seasonal arcs that rotate the ensemble's focus. TED is both foil and mirror, while John navigates a changing world, tech, dating, parenting, and the supporting cast grows into their own arcs. That's how you avoid repeating the same jokes, while still honoring the core premise. The broader implication is clear. Streaming networks will favor franchises that can stay relevant through iteration rather than reboot fatigue. The industry is learning to invest in story ecosystems, not just single TV movie moments. A lot of people misinterpret the pause as end of TED, but the real signal is a potential reinvention, a recharging of the battery rather than a cut to black. Closing thought. If we're honest, Ted's enduring appeal hinges on the same thing that powers multi-season comedies: the heartbeat of friendship under pressure. Whether season 3 happens or not, the conversation it opens is valuable. Can a long-running character-based comedy adapt to the economics of modern streaming while keeping the humor, warmth, and edge intact? My guess is yes, with the right balance of scope, cost management, and a willingness to let characters outgrow their setup in meaningful ways. So I'll leave you with this question. What's the one big life challenge you'd want Ted and John to tackle in a continued run that would feel both inevitable and surprising? Share your ideas, and let's storyboard a season that respects the core even as it dares to reimagine it.